Hello, my dear friends. This week I want to share a special treat with you. The Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation has a 4-week program called the Shalom Challenge. They send emails every morning or every afternoon to people who subscribe. Many people in our shul have signed up. And there's a short video presentation that deals with the topic of shalom or tolerance or achdus or harmony, things like that. So there was a beautiful video that went out this past Sunday. I know many people told me they thought it was fantastic, and I want to share that with you now. So give me a moment to set up my phone so you could watch it on the screen.
Because my mom said it's raining. No, my mom said it's raining. Mama said it's raining. Ow! It's sprinkling outside, Macy. Mommy said it's raining. No, it's not. Yes, it is. And that's raining. Ow! It's raining. Little Clay, it's raining. You broke my heart. Little Clay.
Okay, so that is so charming and cute to see the 3 little children arguing about whether it's raining or sprinkling. But the part that I found the most meaningful, and that's what I wanted to share with you, is the last and the sentence of the video where the little boy says, "You poked my heart. You poked my heart." And he's holding back. He's trying to hold back the tears. He's about to cry because that little girl poked his heart. And I was thinking that, isn't that something that we often do to others? That we poke their heart when we're inconsiderate and we say things that are embarrassing or hurtful or caustic or abusive. What we're doing is we're poking the other person in the heart. Every person has a little boy or a little girl in him and her, which is the part of the, there's certain callousness that comes with age. But deep down within, there's just this pure, simple neshama that is sensitive and thoughtful. And when we say things that are hurtful, it's like poking the person in the heart. And that's how they feel. They feel like they're poked in the heart. They won't cry because adults don't usually cry, but the pain is just like that little boy's pain, that how he expressed it, "You poked me in the heart." I was wondering if there's a pasuk in Tanakh that expresses the same idea of "you poked me in the heart." So with the use of a Hebrew dictionary, I found that the word for poke is taka, and I searched in the concordance for taka belev, poking in the heart, and I found the pasuk in Shmuel Beis, Perek Yud Ches, pasuk Yudalad. The Navi tells that Avshalom was a very difficult child. He rebelled against his father David, who was the king of Melech Yisrael, and he staged a battle against David, and David won the battle, and Avshalom had to escape and run for his life, and he was on a donkey, and as the donkey was running away with Avshalom on its back, Avshalom passed a tree, and he had very long hair, and his hair got tangled in the branches of the tree, and the donkey just kept on going, and Avshalom was left dangling bein shamayim v'aretz, between heaven and earth. Avshalom was in a very vulnerable position, and Yoav, who was the general in David's army, saw Avshalom, and he immediately took 3 staves, 3 shavatim, 3 staves, Vayitaka belev Avshalom. He pierced them in the heart of Avshalom, Odenu Chai. Avshalom was still alive, but he pierced them, he poked them into his heart. And then, subsequently, Yoav and a group of 10 other soldiers went and they pounced on Avshalom and they beat him to death. But when they poked his heart with those staves, he was Odeno Chayv. He was still living. He was still feeling. He felt the penetration into his heart of those staves. And you can imagine the pain that he felt. And I think that when we say things that are hurtful, it's like using staves, and it pierces through the exterior callous part of the individual, protective shield, and it pierces it goes into the heart, Odenachai, which is still alive, which is still beating, and the person feels the tremendous pain of being humiliated or embarrassed or talked to in an abusive manner. I want to tie this into this week's Parsha. The Chumash relates, where this Parashas Zachor, and the Chumash relates that Amalek attacked the Jewish people, and among other things it says, Vayezanev b'cha, Vayezanev b'cha, kol hanecha shalom acharecha. Now, Vayezanev b'cha is a difficult phrase. The word Vayezanev, the word Zonav is a tail. So what does it mean? He tailed, Vayezanev b'cha, he tailed you, kol hanecha shalom acharecha, all those who were weak in the rear of your camp. What is it? But what does, I understand, called the weak ones, but what does it mean, Vayezanev b'cha? So the Art Scroll translates it, he struck those who were hindmost, because the word Zanav is a tail, means that which is in the hind, so those who were hindmost. But the difficulty is, Vayezanev b'cha, it seems to be a verb, that he zanified you, he tailed you, he made you into a tail. What does that mean? He made you into a tail. Vayezanev b'cha. So I had the following thought. The Gemara says that when Achashverosh called Vashti to appear before him, he was having a Mishnah and he wanted to show off her beauty, and he wanted her to appear unclothed. And Vashti was willing to come, but Gabriel Hamalach, the angel Gabriel, went and grew a tail on the back of Vashti, and she was so embarrassed that she would not appear before Achashverosh, and that's why he beheaded her, or he put her to death. So the question is, why a tail? What? I mean, it's obviously a miraculous event. What was the significance of having a tail? So the Gemara says that Vashti was she subjugated her she had Jewish maidservants, and she forced them to work on Shabbos, and they had to work without any clothing on Shabbos. And the Gemara says that as a midah keneged midah, tit for tat, she had to appear before Achashverosh unclothed, because she forced the girls to work in that state as well. But the question is, why did Vashti want them to work unclothed? What was the purpose of that? So I think the answer is because Vashti wanted to humiliate them and to denigrate them and to dehumanize them, because human beings wear clothing. And when a person is without clothing, they lose the sense of being a human being, the Tzelem Elokim. And in order to subjugate them, Vashti had them appear without clothing. So her punishment was that she had a tail. Human beings don't have tails. Animals have tails. So because she dehumanized the girls that were working for her, the Jewish girls, so that's why her punishment was that she was dehumanized and she had a tail. So I was thinking that Vayezanev b'cha kol hanecha shalom acharecha. So what does it mean, Vayezanev b'cha? It means that Amalek's method of attacking the Jewish people is by Vayezanev. It's by putting a tail on the people, which means to say, to dehumanize people, because human beings don't have tails. And that's been the method of Amalek throughout the ages. Amalek is a bully. Bullies pretend to be very brave and strong, but really they're not. It's just they take advantage of those who are weak. And that's what the Chumash says. They attacked those who were weak. And that is throughout the ages. Amalek has managed to find the weak ones, the vulnerable ones. And the Jewish people, unfortunately, throughout Jewish history, were often, the whole communities were weak and vulnerable. And that's who Amalek attacked. But how did they intensify that feeling of being weak, it was through Vayizanev B'cha. They dehumanized them, and throughout Jewish history, the enemies of the Jewish people have treated the Jews as if they are less than human beings. That was the tactic of the Nazis, Yimach Shemam. They treated the Jews like animals. They branded them like they would brand an animal. They forced them into cattle cars. The conditions in the camps were not fit for a human being. They wore striped clothing to make them look silly, and they shaved off their heads. So that was the process of dehumanization. That's Vayizanev B'cha. That's what Amalek did. That's what the Nazis did. The Vayizanev. They made the human beings into animals, putting a tail on them. And that way they became Hanech Shalom. They became the weak and the vulnerable, and Amalek was able to attack them. There were concentration camps where you had a handful of SS officers controlling over 1,000 Jews. How could they do that? Because the Jews were so demoralized and so dehumanized that they all became Nechashalim. They were all by Vayizanev B'cha, and therefore Amalek was able to attack them. So the lesson here is that when we think about Amalek, and there's a mitzvah of Machal Timcha Zech Amalek, we have to eradicate the memory of Amalek. We can't. How do we eradicate Amalek? We don't know who they are anymore. We're not going to go out with guns and start shooting people who we think are Amalek. But Amalek is a culture of evil, and the Zecher of Amalek, the memory of Amalek, is the impression that Amalek made on society, and it travels midor dar. It goes from one generation to the next, and indeed there are individuals and entire cultures that follow in the footsteps of Amalek. They attack those who are weak, and they dehumanize. They treat them as if they're animals with tails. They dehumanize the Jewish people in order that they should be able to attack them. And the way that we destroy Amalek, one way is of course to eradicate them. But to destroy the Zecher, the memory of Amalek, is to reverse that process. That instead of people being treated like animals as if they had tails, we treat people with tremendous kavod because they are Tzelem Elokim. They're created in the exact opposite. They're created in the image of God. And by doing that, we are countering the influence of Amalek. And our job is to eradicate the Zecher, the memory of Amalek, the influence of Amalek, the culture of Amalek, by Amalek dehumanized, and we have to humanize. We have to make people feel that they're special human beings. And if we'll remember this imagery, these two imageries, I think, are very powerful. First, when we hurt somebody, we say something to a person that's painful. It's you poked me in the heart. It's poking somebody in the heart, and there's a little child inside that individual who is being traumatized, or who's in deep pain, humiliation, because the person poked them in the heart. And the second imagery is Amalek is Vayizanev B'cha, just like Vashti had a tail. Amalek dehumanizes people in order to attack them, and when we hurt people, we are dehumanizing them because we're treating them as less than human. We're by not being sensitive to them, it means that we're not recognizing their humanity, and we're treating them as if they were monkeys with tails. And if we'll keep that in mind, and we'll be far more sensitive, and then not just sensitive, but we'll go to the opposite extreme of treating people with the respect that is due to them as human beings. In that way, we'll be Mekayim, the mitzvah, will fulfill the mitzvah of Machal Timcha Zech Amalek, that we will completely eradicate the memory of Amalek.